We're back.
We're back. Your two favorite people.
Launch Radio.
Launch Radio.
Episode 25?
Episode 25, I believe. Should we double check? Are we that? Let me double check.
We've done so many, we just can't keep track of it.
We've done so many.
I think it's 25.
Before we officially start, I will look and double check. So hold.
Un momento, por favor.
Uno momento.
Oh, that was good. Did you take Spanish growing up? Oh.
But it wasn't bad, right?
No, that was really good.
Thanks. I might. Yes. Okay.
25.
And today we have quite the topic. Kira, you want to lead us off with this amazing topic?
Yes. It is the future of art.
Art. As artists ourselves, both of us, we have quite a bit to say on the topic. It is something that I think in all of this AI, web, social media world, before we had all of that, art was, in my opinion, talked about and appreciated more than it is now. And I don't like that because I have been an artist all my life. And I think that oftentimes the internet shades art a little bit. And I have an opinion about art that ties into this. And it's something various people have been talking about. And it because we all love the movies and we love, we've always loved theater, which is the more traditional form of acting in the movies. And then there's painting, obviously, and there's music, and there's all forms of whatever art you pertain in or you participate in. Because we have AI and the internet now, it's changing things a little bit with what's happening with AI. Because the question of, can people create different forms of art using AI is becoming a more prominent thing on the forefront. So
is the question, is it still art, or is it a new genre that should be judged separately?
I think that's what people are starting to wonder about, because if AI is creating art, is it still art?
Well, I remember taking those types of classes in college that, art is very subjective. Mm-hmm. So the people that go into art galleries and see a big red dot, to me, I'm like, I'm bored out of my effing mind. But right. Then there's people that are like, no, that's art. And it's like, okay, well, it's subjective. So who's to say that if one person created a type of art based upon an AI overly produced on a MacBook versus someone that bought all the supplies and created something a little bit more, old school way of doing art, then which one is true art?
And when you say art on a MacBook, what does that refer to?
Well, you could use that as any of the software that's out there and creating, instead of drawing now, you can just you do it with your pen. But is that true drawing? Is that truly the art of it? Or are you using a software to do it and using an AI to help you be an amazing illustrator?
I feel like that if you've got a digital pen and you're creating a drawing online, I feel like in that the artist, the human artist, is still more in control, right? Because you're creating the digital drawing. Well,
it's the same, you can make the argument when it comes to DJs and music. Mm-hmm. So there's many DJs who've made music from just like putting a few things together, and they're now multimillionaires, right? Versus the people that are using old school vinyls and stuff and putting things together. So then which one is art? Or are they both art in their own?
I think that in those examples, both are still art in their own way.
So do you feel that AI should not be touching upon the art world?
Well, I feel that AI, I don't know yet, because we're just at this precipice now of where what's happening now is you literally have AI creating songs and writing scripts and creating paintings that the human has no involvement in. You just plug a bunch of stuff into the algorithm. You plug a bunch of old movies into the algorithm, and then the AI, based on plot lines in those scripts, you can put 5 old movies, put Shawshank Redemption, Good Will Hunting, Titanic, 2 other movies into an algorithm, and then the AI will write a script for a new movie that nobody has heard of that's using plot points like those scripts.
Can you give me that app? Because I want that. And then I could just sell a script. And then go retire.
I mean, that's the app.
I mean, it's kind of effed up, though. I agree. There's what happens to then the true artistic form of writing? If you're just having... So then if that's the case, is the future of art in the hands of the people that build the algorithm? Are they the true artists then?
Well, I think that's...
Boom!
Akira for the win. She wins the art tech Oscar.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the data scientists or the programmers who are the true artists now in creating the software that creates the art, where we don't need humans creating art anymore. We just need programmers to create the algorithm.
That's like mind blowing. We have here the regular, we would blow each other's mind in here. But okay, so yes, that's true. Now in 1994 or 1995, it reminds, we're talking about algorithms. And now if you do all that, if you plug that into an algorithm and you create a script like we just described, well, in 1994 and 95, people were like, if people were going on AOL, American Online, for just like the answer for something, people were like, that's screwed up. Like when I was a kid, when I was in high school, like
plagiarizing.
And I would go in high school when I didn't understand, something, algebra or something. I'd be like, well, I have AOL at home.
Look it up.
I'm just going to go find a math teacher. And so I would plug math teachers in, right. and I was the only person doing this. And I would go and I would talk to them, and they would help me with my homework. And I'm like, why is everybody doing it? Like, why is everybody trying to do this themselves? Why don't they just talk to a math teacher online and have them tell them what the answers are? Because you're still thinking of the answer, but you're just getting someone's help. And I didn't know the answers because I was a bad student. And so I would try to find math teachers. But at that point...
You were a bad student?
I wasn't very good. I went to one of the hardest high schools in America. It was a really hard high school, and it was tough.
Were you good at math? Most men are good at math.
I was good at one math subject, like incredible through the roof. Like one type of math.
Like addition?
Oh man.
Subtraction. Different story.
Yeah, no. Geometry.
Oh, geometry's the worst.
I was so great at geometry. I could like look at the symbols, the shapes, and like know how to prove it.
Triangles and all.
I was so great at geometry. Like proofs, I was really good at.
I was a remedial student when it came to math, in all areas of math. When it came to reading and writing, I would be at a graduate level in my middle school.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I was like off the charts as it came to like reading comprehension and writing.
Now, what type of reading?
Well, you had to do those standardized tests as a kid. Like you had to read certain things, and it would test where you're at. Mm-hmm. So as like a 5th grader, I would be at like a graduate level course or graduate thinking. But my dad's a writer, so I better have genes of some sort when it comes to that. Math, not so much.
Wow.
Anyways.
Because I was great at reading fiction novels in English. Like I was good at English, the topic, fiction novels, but I was terrible at reading history. When I read history, I couldn't understand it.
Well, it's just probably boring to you.
It didn't.
It wasn't
I couldn't get it into my brain. I tried. I was a really bad history student. Anyway, we're really off topic. We're digressing. Okay, so people back then viewed even that as like, what the heck? Like, why would somebody go online and like try to find stuff? Like that's just people viewed it. There's a view of that. Like, what the heck is that? And it reminds me of the view today. What we're talking about like an algorithm creating a movie or an algorithm creating a painting. That sounds right now to artists as very not good.
Over the line. What are you being in the entertainment industry, how do you feel about an algorithm just pumping out scripts and the person just hits a button and is like, oh, script writer, screenwriter, now I can, Oscar winner maybe. But I didn't have to do much.
Well, Chris Evans and Zelda Williams were, both of them went on a rant this week. Did you see that?
I didn't.
About the James Dean being recreated in a movie, basically a deepfake James Dean, being put in a movie as an AI James Dean, like coming back.
Well, it's like the concerts whenever they were able to have Tupac as a hologram and people were like losing their shit.
Yeah.
Because they was like on stage, it was the first time they had ever, was it Tupac or Michael Jackson? I think it was Tupac.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like scaring people because it was so real.
Right.
It was like, you're just bringing someone back from the dead and then you can have a concert with that person.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little like spooky. Dr. Dre was like rapping with him while he's rapping. And it's like, that guy's been dead for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing where it's like, is it okay to bring in and create this deep fake type of world where it doesn't exist and you don't really know what's real at that point?
Mm-hmm.
And to the, there's kids that don't know who James Dean is. So when that movie comes out, there's going to be teenagers and adults who are going to be like, oh, that James Dean is so great. I hope he wins an Oscar. And it's like, no, he's not real.
He's not
he
real.
Died 1.5 million years ago.
They'll put an AI version of him at the Oscars and have him go up in AI and win the Oscar.
Shit, do you think that would happen?
Yeah.
So then do you think there's going to be a separate category when it comes to like who produced the most amazing AI deepfake?
Yes, I think that there will be AI involvement in the Oscars in the coming years.
Really?
Yeah. Because here's why. And I told Chris Evans this, and I told Zelda Williams this, and I'm sure that they huffed off of Twitter, which, they probably weren't too happy to hear it. But most artists aren't, including me. I mean, I don't think it's a great thing because I'm an artist, but it's kind of like, the problem is, here's the problem. And other people talk about this. I'm going to make a separate YouTube video on this as well, because more people need to understand this. That I think where we're lacking and what we're not understanding is that all art is, and people haven't realized this yet, is just repeating stuff. If you're going to make a painting, okay, if you're a painter and you want your paintings to go big, you're going to make a lot of paintings and you're just going to keep painting and paint and get better and leave it up to chance and paint some more. And then one is going to become like Picasso. It's going to become the Kira.
Well, let's hope.
Like, you're right. That one will eventually, statistically, if you keep doing and keep getting better, and including luck, because it is a lot of luck, one will become like Picasso, like the Kira painting.
Plus, you paint what you see.
Right.
So your subconscious pulls in all kinds of things. So if you read lots of art books and you look at lots of different paintings, of course your subconscious is pulling in from other people's art. So though it may be quote unquote original, you still can't call your art completely void of everything around you. Nobody works in a box.
Yeah, but what is art at the granular level? Like at the very breakdown, what you're putting on there. What are you putting on the painting? It's just, what is it? Do you know?
Do you know?
Yeah.
What?
It's literally just data. Art is just data. What you're seeing, you're putting in. If you granular get down to those colors, all of those colors are just combinations of stuff that you've seen. That's just if you like take 10 times
emotion. Do you consider the data from the emotion of the major and like the emotional aspect of creating art, or is it just like, okay, this word looks good with this word, and now I have a script and pull this in here, and it's not so,
I mean, yes, it's guided by human emotion. Human emotion guides what combinations you decide to put on the page.
So human emotion is still data, though.
Of course.
Oh, that's fair. I agree with you then.
And I don't think that I'm not giving an opinion right now, but I'm merely saying that like everything we put with music and art and everything. And yes, we're emotional creatures that it's led by that, but it's still just the data, the information that our emotion guides us. We can't combine things based on our emotions. So
I mean, that's a robotic way of thinking about it, but yes.
So in a painting way, everything that's on the painting is something we saw, something we felt, it's just those mix of colors. Right. So AI can do that with painting. It can mix colors, and it can do it 1 billion times faster than we can. We just haven't realized that yet. So when you're running with your emotions as an artist, which I'm an artist, so I can speak on this, when you're putting something out there based on your emotions are guiding you, but you're just combining music notes, and you're just combining, colors on a painting, and you're combining colors more and more and more and more until something hits.
So what's the future of it then?
So
are we out? Do we extract ourselves out of the?
I mean,
art?
I think that art is not. I think it's a problem. Well, I mean, as the artist in me, I don't like it, and neither does Chris Evans or Zelda Williams or whomever else. I feel for that, but I think that art is in trouble as far as AI goes, because it's going to be able to create songs, and it's going to be able to create paintings that you walk in and you see this painting, and it's like, holy cow, or the music tones,
like Mona Lisa. Well, I guess that's the part where could someone, I'm always playing what if?
Good.
So could someone create the Mona Lisa, recreate it, AI, steal the original, put up the other one, you wouldn't even know the difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So people could recreate art for the sake of their own advantage, whether it be stealing art or pushing out a message that is not that person pushing out the message. You can recreate people now in AI that.
I mean, using algorithms instead of your actual.
Correct.
Painting, absolutely.
Like a deep faking type of thing.
That's right.
And we should probably tell our listeners what deep faking is, in case they're not fully aware of it. But it's truly an astounding thing that's happening right now.
So let's talk about that. So these deep fakes we now have happening, right?
I love the name though.
Deep fake.
Where the hell did that come from?
I know.
It's like deep throat, only deep faking, which is insane. Who came up with that?
And it definitely has a negative connotation to it.
It has an extremely negative connotation, especially as it pertains to political environment and elections and all types of things, where it's probably where they got it from, actually.
100%. And you sent me that. so Kira sent me an article this week that kind of helped spur in the wanting to do this topic. And it was about AI and deepfakes. And do you want to talk about a little bit about the article and how it pertains to art and what exactly it said?
Yeah, so deepfaking is basically AI-produced technology that alters online content. So, I think we all are struggling in this day and age when we're reading something online, to know whether it's true or not. So this article kind of goes into a deep dive of a study that they performed across all generations, across age groups and political stances, to see, are there any commonalities as it pertains to, do people trust what they're reading online anymore, or don't they? Does it change based upon your political party? All kinds of different types of things of how do you, as a human being, read an article and know and sift through all the crap that's on the internet? You could read an article, and the thing is with deep faking is there's AI technology that will create and change online content to suit whatever that person or company wants you to believe. So it's interesting that I think half Americans have said they do not believe that they could be a victim of deep faking. The problem with that I see is that
don't believe.
That don't believe.
Okay.
That means we're very trustworthy.
Yeah.
In the sense that we're very, or not trustworthy, trusting. We don't feel that anyone could use that against us, that we're smart enough to know what is deep faking and what's not. But this stuff is so incredibly designed. I think back to what we were talking about with art, where it's like you can't tell the difference between whether it's fake or if it's real. Yeah. So then you hear the things of like fake news and all that type of stuff. But this goes a step further, where it is like the person's coming, or that the information is completely warping and changing the way you are seeing the world based upon an algorithm that just created it in order for it to skew your own thinking, which is actually really quite scary. And I think for it to say that 47% of Americans admit that they do not believe they could be a victim is almost the same statistic of people that don't believe they could be a victim of anything else, of any other crime. Mm-hmm. You know, we never think it's going to happen to us, and then it does. You know, identity theft. We never think it's going to happen to us. I think it's probably the same statistic where half of Americans never think it's going to happen, and then it happens. So it's like how, knowing that this deep faking is a real technology, mm-hmm. to the point where we can't decipher what is real and what is not, at what point do you say, I can't trust the internet. I can't trust what's going on there anymore. Mm-hmm. What sources do you trust at that point? Yeah. If it can be replicated so easily. Right. And said, oh, well, this representative or this celebrity said this, and they're doing it videos. So they'll take they'll take the actual celebrity or the actual person and recreate that person and have them saying something different, but you would never know. And the person's like, that wasn't me, and I didn't say that. So who do you trust? The AI version, or do you trust the real person? And how do you know the difference? Yeah, I heard somebody saying recently that, like, I feel like we're going backwards evolutionary. Before, when they didn't have the internet, well, it's a little scary. They were better off because they didn't have to worry about all this faking and. Well, and the problem is, you know, one person will say, well, I read X, Y, and Z, and you're wrong. I'm right because I read this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, it's causing a much bigger divide between individuals. Mm-hmm. I think we're becoming much more polarized, mm-hmm. based upon what we're deciding what is true, mm-hmm. online. Yeah. What you may read as truth, I may read and be like, you're an idiot for thinking that's true. But in your brain, that's what you believe, and that's what you decide is true. It's because it's the way we perceive, right, what's happening. And I think that when more people understand that everybody perceives these things in their own way, that's going to lead to more understanding. I think people have very little understanding about, like, perception and how everybody has their own perception of things. They do, until there are external sources changing your perception based upon lies. Yes. So then, at that point, is it your actual perception, or are you being fed into an altered perception? Well, like it's actually quite scary if you think about it. It's quite complicated. And it's quite complicated. You know, for it to say, in general, people believe that 43% of internet users spread misinformation. So almost half of people believe that everyone spreads misguided information online. So then, so okay. What are you supposed to read at that point? Well, I think that people need to take the point of view of just, like, when you read something, what if everybody just takes the point of view of when they read something or see a piece of art, when they see a movie or whatever, they don't think, like, knowing what you're looking at might not be real. So what if you take that point of view? And everything you read, you don't know if it's real or not. Do you think that creates too much of a discerning eye or ear, in the sense that you I feel like as a human being, you have to trust something in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're not trusting something and you're constantly distrustful of things, then what is real to you at that point? Do you have any grounding of anything? If you're constantly questioning everything around you, how do you keep grounded?
If you're constantly like wondering if it's
You're
real
like,
or
oh,
not.
well, question. Yes, I agree. I think everyone should question things, but at some point that can go off the rails a little bit, where you question existence in itself, and then you start questioning all kinds of bigger things.
You do. But I think if you're okay with your own, who you are, in your own internal
I
process,
would say that's not the vast majority of people.
it's not.
So
it's
then,
a sad thing.
How do you sift through the crap that you read, and how do you know and trust the sources that you read on a daily basis?
I look at it and I look at whatever the news article is or whatever the tweet is or whatever, and I gauge my opinion on it based on what it's telling me right there in that moment. Like only what's happening like in that direct moment I base it on. Because I try to, we're all influenced by bias in the past and stuff that's happened and just who we are and everything. But like, I think what I try to do is do it right in that moment. And that's really hard for people to do. Because if you break it down and just do it, like pretend that you just landed on the planet and you're looking at something with like the most fresh eyes ever.
Right.
I think when you do it it's a little easier. And we've touched on that before, where like if you try to look at everything with like completely fresh eyes, you've never heard of anybody, you just landed on the planet, and this news article is the first thing that you see. If you try to view it in that way, it's with really fresh eyes.
How do you form any basis of ideas then if you if you read something different with a different stance every single day, you have no true essence of what you believe and what you don't believe, because it changes on a daily basis then at that point.
Well,
like how can you have a political stance or have any stance for that matter if you read a radically different article that states something different every single day?
Every single day. You mean
because then your perception changes on each thing.
Why do you need you don't need to have a radically political stance. You can take what's true on one side and take what's true on the other side based on what you see, and you can kind of be detached from both in that way, and that is your stance.
So basically,
it becomes your stance.
No, I think that's fair. Where it's like, okay, let's talk about abortion. You'll read everything about abortion, and then the next day you read complete opposite, and that seems true. You're like, okay, and then the next day you read something else that you're like, okay, I take everything minute by minute instead of holding on to things.
Right.
So then at the end, do you have a true stance of what you believe then?
I think you have to take, I think we'd have to have a specific topic for me to explain how I view it. But like, I mean, the abortion topic, for example, while we're talking about it, I mean, I listen to, the conservatives are very tough, and they're tough on Obama, and they're tough on, the more pro-life, they're tough on what pro-choice people, and I'm not saying my opinion here, I'm just staying out of it, but like they're tough on what pro-choice people say about it. But then I hear or I read something about exactly what they're saying, which is like the pro-life people go after pro-choice people, and they say that like pro-choice people want to kill babies in the third trimester, and that they want to that's happening, and that they are for it. Nobody wants to kill babies. Nobody wants to kill babies in the third trimester. People don't want to do that. They do not want to do. Nobody is wanting to kill a baby.
Well, look at capital punishment. I think there are people that are wanting to kill the person that is on death row. I think, you know what I mean? Yeah. So what's the difference between that and killing a baby? You're killing a human at that point, right?
Yes.
I'm not stating my
opinion either.
I'm completely detached from the. I think that's the part that you do very well, and we have touched on it before, where it's like You absorb all of this information, as we all do. You just detach from it. And instead of putting
that's right,
your own opinion to one or the other, and that's what's so great. Like on Twitter, you're able to play on both sides. And it's like a puppeteer. You can be like, oh, I'm just going to push this little thing here and generate conversation. And then I'm going to push it over here now. And the person is, it's blowing their mind because they're like, wait, Geoff, what do you stand for? And you're like, no. I'm just the puppeteer. I'm just playing.
It drives people out of their minds. And I'm not trying
maybe
to.
That's the way to is that the right way? Because there's so much information, so much of this deep faking that's going to continue. And with the impeachment inquiry starting tomorrow, that's going to be public, that we can watch all of this happening. And there's going to be two different sides in the election next year. Do we just detach from it and just say, I don't know, just take everything from face value? I don't really have a belief on it one way or the other.
That's how I do things. Yeah.
So do you vote?
I have voted in the past. Yes, I have voted both ways.
Do you vote in that moment, or do you formulate an opinion based upon the thing you've read and you're like, okay, this candidate is right for me?
I formulate an opinion.
Okay, so in that case, then you don't detach from it and you decide this is the bulk of the information that I'm taking, and then you extract it analytically, and then you're like, this is. So there are core beliefs that you have.
Yeah, 100%.
So you're not a robot. You feel me right now.
Yes, 100%. I
was telling Geoff that next week we should talk about ancestry DNA and the effects of AI and what you can download your raw data and upload it to all kinds of. I've done it, and it tells you all these health things. And he's like, "Well, has yours come up with any health things?" I'm like, "Yeah." It says I'm going to die early. I'm going to get cirrhosis of the liver. Alcoholism. I've got all kinds of shit in my DNA. He's like, oh, really? I only have 3 things. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. We can't all be from created from AI robots.
I just wondered when I saw it, my 2 were
you're like, I might get glaucoma.
Yeah.
That's
no. It was macular degeneration was one, age macular degeneration, and the other was starts with a C, celiac. Disease. Those
the
are
most
my 2.
Ridiculous not to put. Those are, moderately to serious ones.
Yeah.
However, not nearly like when I get my report. It's like, what kind of cancer am I not carrying in my DNA?
I was wondering.
So sometimes I just want to make sure that Geoff is actually a real human being.
He is.
Just to make sure.
He is. Geoff is doing a podcast on humanity. AI and humanity. She's the human and I'm the AI.
He's the AI. That's how this works.
Or in the plot twist, she's the AI.
Ooh.
That's the
How can you tell who's the deep fake now?
Who's the deep fake? Geoffrey Kira.
Actually, that's really interesting. Whenever you showed me that quick, really interesting clip right before we started our podcast today, before we wrap up, because it was really interesting to me, because it really it's a really good example of what's going on with deep fake stuff.
Yeah.
This video that Geoff shared with me, it was like a 15-second video. It was real life, real time, kind of like almost like a police brutality type of video kind of setting, where you see this guy and it wasn't scripted or anything. It was just like, you're watching, you're like, what is going on? And this bus driver of a school bus is throwing this kid off the bus, and all his stuff is splattered everywhere. And there's a big group of people who are like, what are you doing, man? It was just like a big scene. It was bad.
And it's just a bus. They don't say what type of bus.
Well, it was a school bus.
Okay. Keep going.
So, mass chaos, obviously, for a good reason. When you see a school bus driver throwing a kid off the bus, you're like, what's going on? He's screaming at him and stuff. And the people are like, hey, little man, are you okay? And he gets up, and it's an adult. So it's like a little person. And had you cut that frame out at the very end, where that's,
which an actual adult, you see that it's not a kid.
Been like horrified that this school bus driver was throwing this kid off the bus. Meanwhile, it's an adult, and that's what deep faking is. It's showing you bits and pieces and recreating something that wants to feel an emotion from you.
Why would the adult be on the school bus?
I think it was I don't know. Maybe the school bus driver saw. I don't know. You always show me the clip, Jeff.
I'm saying that if somebody asked that question,
oh right,
it would.
I thought you were asking me the question. I'm like, I don't know.
It would upend the kind of a little bit because it would show that it's a deep. You can look for clues.
Well, the other thing
would show that it's a deep.
Was this adult on the school bus trying to like attack kids or something?
We don't know.
So your mind is completely warped at that point where you're like, I thought one thing, I'm watching one thing, and now I'm like upset. And then all of a sudden it's a role reversal.
That's right.
And you're like, what is happening? Maybe this is the one that's not a kid, it's an adult, it's a little person. And two, what was he doing on a school bus with kids?
It's an M. Night Shyamalan ending where he twists.
You're like,
what happened?
I see dead people.
He twists your perception of everything. And
yeah, it really is. Maybe he's the one who's creating all this AI stuff. Because it
Why was M. Night's first movie? His movie was The Sixth Sense.
Yes.
What did The Sixth Sense have to do with the ghost and all that? There was no rhyme or reason why he called it The Sixth Sense. So I wrote an article a little while back called The Seventh Sense, which was about the rise of perception and how it's sensory.
The rise or the fall.
And M. Night,
sure exactly.
This is the conspiracy theory of the podcast. M. Night is creating. He's messing with our perception. He's showing us perception can be twisted and that things aren't what you think through art. I've always loved M. Night Shyamalan.
I know, but some of his films are really quite terrible.
Really?
No, I think there was a few that were like, what in the hell is this crap?
Did you know Signs? Did you see Signs with Mel Gibson where they're on the farm?
Yeah, and Joaquin.
Yeah, that is about Christianity.
Yeah.
You know that.
Of course, Mel Gibson was cast in that.
Yeah, some people don't know that movie's about Christianity. And
The Happening. War of the Worlds? What's War of the Worlds about?
The Happening movie.
Scientologists.
It was about, people have speculated all sorts of things about what it could be about. But yeah, there's lots of speculation about what The Happening is about. And, it did show the world ending, but, was it about, it had people running around in fields and, they talked about aliens and like what's coming. And there's speculation, was it about like the rise of AI? Was it about us understanding perception and who we are and who each other are, and that could lead to turmoil or chaos, or could it lead to something good? And I really think that M. Night hits on these topics in a lot of his films, and he's also an artist, and he is, people have been critical with him, but I find his work to be very interesting.
There was one movie that I watched that I was like, I'm unimpressed. Which one was it? I don't know.
There was Unbreakable. I liked Unbreakable. I liked Signs. I didn't like the pool one, the Lady in the Water one.
Oh yeah, that was okay. He did Unbreakable. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he didn't do the second one, did he?
Yeah, he's done them all. Glass
I
one.
heard that wasn't so great. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, we're just chatting.
I saw The Joker last night. So good.
How was it?
So good.
Really?
Amazing. Tom Phillips did an outstanding job on it.
I need to see it.
And guess who's a producer?
Who?
Bradley Cooper. Which makes sense.
Produced it. I didn't even know that.
Because the two of them are friends.
Wow. I got to go see it. Go see The Joker per Kira. Sounds great. This was a great one today. Art, deep fakes.
I still don't know what I'm supposed to be reading and how I'm supposed to know the difference between what I'm reading is true or not. And that's what concerns me, of like, you have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, you could be reading something and be horrified by it, and then it's like, oh wait, that was fake. You're like, oh great.
Well, and that's right. And one other thing we haven't figured out yet, which maybe we can close on this, which I've heard people say as well, is like, we haven't figured out yet that, how they're trying to create a robot, and they're trying to create like robots that are as smart as us, like they're constantly saying that robots aren't as smart as humans, and they have to get there. Our perception is off there, because what we haven't figured out yet is that we're actually not that smart.
Oh, I knew that long ago.
AI is already way smarter than we are.
Yes.
And we're trying to catch up.
Correct. Who argues with that point?
So the only way
humans are smart.
These scientists think that the AI isn't as smart as us yet. We are totally, anybody who knows psychology like Kira knows how irrational we are. So to create a robot, all you have to do is make an AI that's irrational and so does random stupid things and then justifies.
And then you're like, oh,
it's a human. Yes. And then justifies the decision afterwards.
Correct.
Because we act.
Self-pity.
In relationships.
Blame everyone else.
In everything, we act and then we justify.
Correct.
So you need the algorithm that does random stuff. And then after the fact, it'll be like, that's why I did it. That's why.
You're like, that's why.
Justifies. And
I'm right. And you're wrong.
Humans don't want to admit that they're dumb.
Oh no, I'll admit it for them.
Okay.
I will take that. I will take that one on. I will 100% say that we are really dumb.
Irrational.
Really irrational. Very warped in our brains. We see a tiny little fraction of what truly is going on around us, and we believe that tiny little fraction. I mean, we're really dumb.
So you create an AI that can do the basic stuff, like, move something around in the house, or the really basic stuff that's 101, and then everything else with love and with our political decisions, all of that, you program it irrationally with all just random whatever, and then you have the AI justify its decision once it's acted irrational, and you have a human. You have a human
100%.
AI. We've just solved the
world.
world.
So at that point, I'm not so concerned about AI maybe taking over. It might be what we need to save the planet.
That's right. That's why, I made a YouTube video about how AI is, there's a good side to it too, which is that it's teaching us how to be smarter. And on that note, art and AI.
The future of art and AI. Chris Evans and Zelda, don't worry, good things are to come for artists. Yeah, you're going to get James Dean to come on Oscars and accept his award. Chris Evans will be throwing tomatoes, but that's okay. That's what we got. Episode 25. Always question everything you read in here. Here at Launch Radio, we read the future, and the future is Launch Radio. Thank you guys for watching, and girls, guys and gals, for tuning in. We have fun. My sister and I, as always. Next week is DNA. Or Sex with Robots. I do want to get to the Sex and Robots one. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Maybe a combo? Maybe we can do a combo episode. Okay. We'll think that through. Okay. More to come. Thank you guys. Episode 25. Geoff and Kira. Bye. Later.